Today is June 1st, 2023. We're here with Salomon Smeer. I'm Susan Kendall, and we're in Windsor, Canada. So, thank you, Salomon.
You're welcome.
And if we can just start with your name and when you were born and where.
My name is Salomon Smeer, and I was born on the 22nd of February 1938 in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And I am interviewed here to tell my story about my experiences during the Second World War. And
if you want to look at me, sit up, Salomon.
Talk to Susan, not the camera.
And it's not that I'm reluctant to do it, but it's not easy. I am 81 years ago this month. My mother gave me and my twin brother to strangers to hide us. I don't remember my mother, neither nor my father. I remember the street we lived in, and we lived on the second floor. I remember the ice cream man coming in the street, and he sometimes gave me an ice cream. And I remember I used to play in the playground in an area which was all sand with metal forms. And that's basically all I remember before I went in hiding. I remember being on the train and was a beautiful wooden bench and a young lady who took me to my first address. And I know it sounds maybe strange, but I didn't cry. I was very quiet, and I knew that something unusual was happening, but why I didn't know. So when I came to these people, they were communist. He was, I don't know if she believed in that, but he was a communist. He was a very nice man, but he used to curse all day. And of course, and she told me my new name. She told me, your name now is Jantje. Jantje is for a small child. Jan is for grown up. And she also said to me, Jantje, listen good. We don't love Jews so much, but we hate the Germans. That's how she greeted me. And right away I understood I have to behave myself very good. Although I didn't really know what it meant to be Jewish. I didn't know that. But as I progressed, I started to understand everything.
How old were you?
4 years and 4 months. I was there for a while, I don't know how long, and then I was sent to another place, and from there I wound up in Haarlem. It's a city in Holland. And then I had to stay inside SD was on the other side of the street. And I remember that. And then I wound up in a Loosdrecht. That was an estate owned by a Jewish family who weren't there, but I was hidden in a small farm, and there was an orchard behind it, and I slept many nights. There was under the ground, like trenches, but covered. I don't know what you call them. And there was a bicycle to give a little light, because there was a dynamo on the wheel, and then when you drove the bike, the dynamo would make some light, and some areas were very big. I remember a sailboat was hidden there and a car, and I used to go in the car. It was very nice. There, I didn't stay that long. They had a daughter who worked in a juvenile delinquency home about 2 or 3 kilometers from there. And when things got dangerous, they told me to go there. I walked by myself at night to this place, and there I slept many nights under the floor, because there were always razzias going on, not just to catch Jews, but to catch people to send them to work in Germany. And I peed in my bed there all the time. The food, of course, was horrible, and I don't know what other reason, but they weren't too happy with me because of that. From there, I wound up in a place in Hilversum, and that was during the worst time. It was 1944. It was the worst winter, no food and no heat. And I remember we lived on a hilly road almost at the top, and the headquarters of the German Wehrmacht was in that city. Little did I know that after the war, I would come to live in the headquarters of the Wehrmacht, because before the war it was a Jewish home. And I saw a flat wagon with sacks of potatoes, and on top a German soldier with a gun. And I wasn't allowed to go out of the house, of course, but I wanted always to show that I tried to help, and I walked very nonchalantly under the wagon and put potatoes under my shirt. It was very cold. And I came home, and they were eating potatoes tonight, and they were arguing who had a bigger potato, and I felt so bad. And then the man took me to another town, because there was no food, and he brought me to a very poor place where there was a crawl space where they hid me, and there was all statues of Catholic, with a heart and this. And I was scared to death of them. So I always crawled in the corner. And I had no bed. I slept on the floor. There was a crawl space. And I forgot to tell you, one day when I was taken by somebody from one address to another. We came to Harlem and we got off the train, and they at the exit they were checking Ausweisen papers. And he took me to the front of the train where the machine is, and he let me in, and he let me blow the whistle. I never forget. So he took the train out of the station, and he stopped, and we walked down the dike, because trains in Holland mostly travel on dikes. And he took me to this address. And then in 1945, the war came to an end. And I was again by the people who I came to first. They always seemed to know where I was. And there was in 1945 a sister of my mother who survived, who lost her husband and her son, but she had a child born in 1942 who now lives in Florida, who I talk to occasionally, not too often, but I do. But unfortunately, she belongs to a cult. But this woman took me away from the people who were hiding me, or then there was no hiding anymore. And then she was mentally sick, and my brother and I were there, and she had another lady who came back from concentration camp who was Jewish, but a Jehovah's Witness, who had a daughter who I still talk to her more often, who lives in Belgium. But her mother died and she left Jehovah's Witness. And it was totally, my aunt was gone for days on end. All the Canadian soldiers, they had, I don't know where she went, how she went, but my brother and I wind up one day in a place where we slept on straw in somebody's house, and the people who hit me came to look me up, and they took me back. And I was under the lights and everything, and she had a brush, and I don't know what she put on my body, but I got all right. And then I wound up in a Jewish orphanage.
Were you with your brother the whole time?
Not during the war.
Where was?
He was by one family all during the war, but I never saw him anymore till after the war. And this orphanage, I have a photo where all the children are in this picture in 1946. And there was a very nice couple who were in charge, but they didn't, for one reason or another. I never found out. There were rumors, but I don't know if it's true, that they spent too much money on us. But I don't know if that's true. Through the grapevine. Then we got a new one, and he was a terrible man, and he had 3 children. He was Orthodox, but a phony hypocrite. He used to hit us, and on Saturday we had to go to the town to the shul, but during the week we had shul in the orphanage, shacharis. And
do you remember what the orphanage looked like, or what you did there?
If I remember what it looked like, yeah, very much. I remember. I mentioned before, it was before, during the war, the headquarters of the German army. And there was a big bunker in front of this house. On our side, we could walk up top of the bunker at trees, you know. The other side went straight down. And they had collaborators locked up in there. And we used to pee in the pipes. You know, they had air pipes in the bunker. It's true. So, what can I tell you? The food was, I don't know why, but the bread in the Jewish homes, I never saw it again in my life, but it was not edible. I am not joking. And the house was 3 floors. The first floor was the shul, the dining room. We ate by groups, by age groups, with a, I don't know, a counselor, what do you call it? Yeah, mostly females. And we got for breakfast mostly oatmeal with water. It was very slimy. And but that son of a bitch, if I may say that, this director, this lowlife, he would sit at the table and eating cheese. And we, of course, didn't get cheese. And he would ask when he was finished, if any one of us wanted a slice, but we never took a slice from him. But we stole from the cellar where the cheeses were and Manischewitz wine, because they used that for $50. And we organized, you know. We were good at that. I have no pleasant memories about the orphanage where I was first. And when I was 15, also they didn't let me study. Because I went to school later than most children, because you know why. And when I was 15, they sent me to work in Amsterdam. And I had to go from the orphanage on the bicycle to the station in Hilversum, take the train to Amsterdam, and then take the trolley to my job, which was in a knitting mill owned by very Orthodox Polish Jews. And I got there in the morning, and they asked me if I went to shul. Narrische Frage. Of course I didn't, but I always said yes. So I worked there I hated it. The machines were all the way it was very low ceiling, it was very dusty there. And they had sewing machines where the girls were sewing underwear. They sold underwear. That's what they were, knitted and sewing. And my job was to take the packages to the post office, which was up the Plantage Middelaan. And when I had to pass the Schouwburg, where all the Jews were taken, before they were sent to Westerbork. I took Norma there once. You remember? So it was very hard, because I knew that. Anyway, to my great pleasure, we had I slept with 3 guys in a room, 2 others and myself, and we had a big balcony and a fire escape, which led to a storage room on the 3rd floor, where the girls' room was next to it. And one of the guys, he went to radio school, and he made a telephone connection between our room and the girls' room, so we could talk to each other. So it was Sukkot, and at Sukkot we talked to the girls, and we decided we're going to meet them at a storage facility which had old mattresses and all, but no lights. So the two guys were fooling around with the two girls. I had to watch. And I saw the light go on under the door. His name was Elberg, but we called him Janus. We had a nickname for him. That's how much we liked him. He had a neck like a bull. A terrible man. Anyway, I was sent the following morning at 6 o'clock with whatever clothes I had in a little suitcase to a home in Amsterdam, which was only for boys. And the direction there, do I say that right? Direction? The people who were in charge, they were not Jewish. He was a teacher, but they were in the underground during the war, and they were in charge of this home, what's called the Jewish Boys' Home. And I stayed there a few years, and I got another job working in a fabric jobbing place. And then he was 15. He had lived by these people who hid him during the war, but at 15, they had enough of him, and he came to Jewish home, and I met him on a Friday. He died. He was my best friend till he died. And I have very pleasant memories about that home compared to this other place. And when I was about 17 or 18, I'm not sure, but no older than that, him and I and another guy, we rented a room for 30 guilders per person, where we get cost and the room. The room was right under the roof with beds and a bulb. But we enjoyed ourselves there. And one night, his name was Flip, he said to me, I'm so worried you're going to get married or meet a girl, and then I'm all alone. But 3 months later, he left me and lived with a girl. But we stayed in touch. I got married at 25, which was a very bad marriage. It was a total debacle. I have a daughter from that marriage, with whom I don't have a good connection. I got divorced and left for the United States.
Why?
I just wanted a change of scenery. I came to New York, and the sister of my mother had immigrated with her husband, who was a DP from Hungary. Bela was his name.
What year is this?
Yeah, what year? After the Hungarian Revolution. Many Hungarians came to Holland. Also many Jewish Hungarians. What year? I don't remember the year.
That you got to New York?
It was, let me think, probably around the 60s, 58, somewhere around that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure, but I'm just trying to put it together. And I came to New York. I stayed by her 2 weeks until she told me I couldn't stay any longer. So I got a room in Queens on Woodhaven Boulevard for $12 a week. And I got a job in a big textile company. And I met a girl in the company, and I got married to her, but that didn't work out well either. I'm not a good husband. I used to gamble. I used to cheat. I was really not good. So I can't blame her. She was a nice, innocent Jewish girl. Never had a lover before she got me. She lived with her mother. Her father was killed by a robbery. And when I married her, I kept the mother in the house. I think that's the only good thing I did. And then 10 years later, I met another woman, had a Zionistic, I had a friend, very nice guy, he was from Latvia, David Feja. He died too. Everybody died. Why I'm still here, I don't know. Anyway, I started to get better jobs, and then I worked. I slip because it's irrelevant. And then I worked for Uniroyal, and I had a very good job. And I was there for a few years. And then the division I worked in, the Uniroyal, was going to close it. And I found out about that. So I got another job, and the controller, you see, when these big corporations buy companies, they put some of their own people in the company, in the main jobs. And when I told the controller that I was leaving, he started to cry. I never had much contact with him. And he said, "No, stay by us. I'll give you a job in Croton, Connecticut." I didn't want to move out of New York anyway. I left and went to work for another company. And then I started to work for a converter in New York, quite a nice-sized company. And I gave all the contracts out to contractors. They didn't have equipment. They just did designing and buying the raw material and sent it to places to manufacture. So that was my job. I'm not here. And then on a few occasions, you see, it's a peculiar job because I negotiate the price, etc., etc., and they always want to pay less, and the contracts always want to get more. So I'm between a rock and a hard place. So they insinuated a few times to me that questioned me who I was working for, the contractors or them, and I got pissed. So then I told one of the contractors, I'm going to leave this company. I can't take their shit anymore. And he said, why don't you go in business with me? I said, okay. He said to me, you think what you want. And so we started a business, did very well. Then we bought another business out of bankruptcy, did also well. Then we bought another one in Connecticut, and that went great till the Chinese came. Then the ball game was finished. And then I retired, basically. I was 61 or something. I stopped. And then my wife was Russian. I forgot to tell you, I got married again to the third one, Russian woman. And we lived in New York. And when I built a house in the Poconos, a beautiful home in the forest. And when I retired, we lived there, but she didn't like it, although she was the one who had me build the house there. And she wanted to live close to her sons. One lived in Royal Oak in Michigan, and one lived here in Windsor. So I had my friend Philip with me on vacation in the Poconos. And he said to me, make her happy, go to Canada. So I listened to him. And we moved here. I bought a house here in Tecumseh. And then she got Alzheimer's. And a terrible sickness. You heard about that sickness? It's no joke. So she died. And then I met Norma at Jewish Center. And she fell hell over head in love with me. She couldn't resist me. Right, darling?
Of course.
Of course. And that's 15 years ago. So I think I told you everything except the bad things. I don't want to get personal. Okay.
If you want to,
No, it's okay. I was an altar boy, let me tell you.
okay.
I was involved with the underworld in Holland. I did business with the mafia in New York City, but that was legit, but still. And now I'm here, I'm doing nothing nothing at all. I sit home 99% of the time, right? I used to gamble here too. I used to run to the casino 3-4 times, maybe more. She used to get me the next day or 2 days later. Coming. You remember? Yeah.
Why do you think you did all that?
I'm sorry?
Why do you think you did that?
To forget everything. That's my escape.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for money.
Mm-hmm.
It was just for me to escape everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But I have nothing to escape anymore. I forgot to tell you. I used to sleep always with my head under the blankets till I was about 15. After that, I got better. But I was scared. I was a rebellious boy. I can tell you a few stories about these homes. They were not pleasant places, especially the first one. I told you we got oatmeal in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the one which was at my table was a counselor who had freckles all over her body. That is not a bad thing, but that's what she had. And her name was Meta. I remember that's what is it, 75 years ago. And every morning, they put plates on top of each other in front of me. I said, today, I'm not going to take it to the kitchen, come hell or high water. Now, when I do that, there is nothing that can make me do it. So she told me, Saul, bring it. I said, I will not. I said, I do it every day, but today I'm not doing it. So she stood over me and put her hands, and I took the plates and hit her over the head with it. Yeah. And she took my hair. She had a whole pluck of my hair. And I kicked her so hard in the skin here that the blood spurted to the ceiling. Yeah, I'm not lying to you. She was gone though. Same day. Goodbye, Charlie. It's a true story. Then they hired one from a juvenile delinquency home. And she wore a beret, and I think she was a dyke, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's okay. And she walked, we slept like with about 12 children in one big room. In the middle was a table and a chair, and in the corner was the bathroom. And like I said, we had to go to shul in the morning. And her room was next to our room with a window so she could look in, right? And we had never met her. But she came in the room and she clicked her heels like a German, no joke. And she told us that in 5 minutes she would be back and expected everybody to be out of bed. Now was testing time. And 5 minutes later, of course, nobody was out of bed. So she went to one of the kids and started to hit her. And we jumped her, all 12 of us. I swear. She was unconscious. We took her by the arms and legs, took her to her room, and she was gone the next day too. Then I tell you another one. We had another one, also a terrible person, and it was her birthday. We got a box and we all pooped in the box. And that table in the middle of we had to go to bed at 7 o'clock in the evening because that gives them respite, right? Get rid of them. So we made the box, we put paper and this and that, and she gave us a peppermint. She was so thrilled with her present. And we stood there, watching how she was unwrapping that box till, became clear what. And she was gone too. Then we were tough. There was no
Damaged children. Very damaged.
That's true. This Elberg, this Janus, we had to walk to school, quite a long walk in the morning, lunch, go back and come back. Eh? Sometimes one of the kids got a bike from a family member or whatever, and we would go on that bike with 4 children to school. One day, we come back with the bike, and he tried to confiscate the bike. And we had a gong. You know what a gong is? When you hit it, it makes noise. For lunch, they would run around the house hitting the... So we were fighting with him about this bike, and one of the kids got the gong. First round, his wife was, and it was a real fight. No joke. I mean, it was not pleasant. It wasn't. I personally am of the opinion, and it might be not nice for me to tell in this circumstance, that the people who actually were in charge of running these homes, they were never there. Once a year, I remember they used to come and smoke big cigars and drink drinks, and none of them ever asked us, how do you like it here? Or how do you like the director? Or anything like nothing. On Saturday, we had to go to shul in the city. There was a big walk because we lived in the forest. And I don't remember ever one Jewish family inviting us for dinner. Never. This is true. I do remember they would like to sometimes hire a girl to be a servant in the house, but they wouldn't do it, of course. And also the families who had children, like we were, they kept them away from us. We were the black sheep, so to say. It's true. Even in school, we have quite a few children who went to the same public school. We weren't treated the same either. So I just give you a few examples. And I don't care if the people get angry about me telling all this, but it's the truth. So I was once interviewed by Professor Wolf from Berkeley University. You heard about her? She wrote a book, Post Anne Frank. And she interviewed basically the orphans who were in those Jewish homes. And we have it here, right? And yeah, she realized that we deserved a better deal. Wasn't that good? I mean, I always felt that they should have treated us differently, nicer, with more empathy. But there was none. Yeah, I remember so many lousy days. What can I tell you? It's a long time ago. Many years.
Talk about the liberation, the day you were liberated.
What?
The day you were liberated.
Yeah, what story?
You said how wonderful it was.
Oh, yeah, but for me the war never ended. I remember, yeah, that day I remember I was by this very poor family, and it was May 5th, I'll never forget, beautiful May Day. I finally could go on the street. You know, there was, and German soldiers were leaving, right? Parading with the BS. There was the Dutch army after the war. During the war, there were SS army. You know, Holland wasn't that kosher, if you know what I mean. They had a wrongful impression of Holland, that they were so wonderful to the Jews, but a big lie. You know how many more Jews in Western Europe got killed than any other country in the West? More than Belgium, more than France. Yeah, it's true.
Per capita.
Yeah, not only per capita, by number. They would tell the Gestapo for 5 guilders where they could find a Jew. All right? My niece Hannah, she was hidden and wound up arrested in jail. She was on transport, 1944, and the English bombed the plane, and somebody took her out of the train. She's still here, but she's not 100% either. Yeah.
Where were you when you found out about liberation?
I don't hear you.
Where were you when you were liberated?
In a town called Noordwijk Binnen. There was one area called Noordwijk aan Zee, was on the North Sea, and about a mile or so inland was another Noordwijk, but it was called Noordwijk Binnen. And that's where I was liberated by Canadian soldiers.
What happened?
No, they just came with tanks and trucks through the town. And people were dancing in the street. And with lampions, and lampions you call them? Where you put a candle in and I don't...
Lanterns.
Lanterns?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was music on the street, live music.
Mm-hmm.
And they were cutting girls' hair, but I didn't know why. But later I found out, but I didn't know. It was mean, you know. and Canadians were bringing food. There was nothing to eat. I had I had no shoes. I used to go barefoot. I remember my first pair of shoes. That's when I came to this first home, when this nice couple was there in the beginning, and she took me to a store, and she bought me shoes, high, and you had to, with hooks. I still remember those shoes. Can you imagine I never had shoes? But there was something. Shoes. Yeah. I was bar mitzvah there too.
Where?
In this Orthodox home. I got a chumash, I got tefillin, and a talis.
Do you still have them?
No, never used them. I'll be honest with you. I never used them. Never. I can still read the Hebrew.
Where did you learn Hebrew at that?
In this home. We had to study every Saturday after shul, after lunch, chumash. That was the rule, you know. He kicked me sometimes because I didn't. He used to kick me, son of a bitch. Yeah, he was.
Do you pray now?
No,
Do you have any belief in religion or?
I don't. I don't like to go. She sometimes forces me to go.
Why don't you like to go?
I found, how can I believe in God when all this happened? I tell the rabbi, you celebrate Pesach. He opened the Red Sea. When he opened the gates at Auschwitz? I can't answer that, he says. It's a legitimate question, no? I saw too many hypocrites. Okay? I got more empathy from Goyim than from the Jews. But in Holland, you know, if they had a few dollars, they thought they were God. I'm talking after the war. This is true. They exploited us. They weren't, I don't know. I owned businesses and I treated my personnel like they were my children. Okay, true. I had a house, I would invite them, spend the weekend there. I used to give them bonuses. I know what it means to work for people, right? I know. You want some candy? You want to drink something? You
Okay.
tired of
No,
me?
I'm good.
You tired of me?
Just keep on going.
It's okay. How long? An hour already. Wow. I have a daughter, we don't have a good connection.
Do you remember what you did when you were in hiding all day?
Be very quiet. Yeah. And if they had other people, that would hide me even more, right? Yeah. And they used to tell me once in a while that I had a new name. Now, your name, listen good, is Jantje Krol. Not Jantje Krol, Jantje Krol. I said, okay. They used to do that quite often, change my name for whatever reason. Yeah. But I was the most scared when I was on that scroll space with all these statues. That scared the hell out of me. This is true, I tell you. I wasn't, otherwise I wasn't that scared. I should have been. I walked at night kilometers from one address to another. I once told her, she had a grandson who used to go to Bank Jomi here in next to, maybe 100 meters from here, right? And she told me I had to take him because dangerous to let him walk by himself. And I said, I was 4 and 5. I would walk him wherever they told me, right? Different. Yeah, there are things what hurt you as a child. I never got kissed goodnight, right? Never somebody came to school for me. I mean, those things hurt. You see parents and this. But yeah, that's the way it was. I wasn't the only one, right? I had other kids, same situation. But I did have noticed one thing. There were children, and I don't envy them. Some had a mother, but she couldn't, or a father, or somebody close who kept an eye on them. They got treated differently. They studied, they went to school. I never studied. I have 6 years of grammar, elementary school, but I survived, right? Yeah. But it bothered me. I remember my headmaster in the elementary school, that's in the last class, grade, 6. He said, why don't they send you to higher education? But I told you, the director told me he didn't like me. I never told you that yet, huh? Yeah, one day he told me, I don't like you. I don't like you either. I mean, but who says that to a young, I should drop that here if I lie. I don't like you. I almost killed his wife one day. Yeah, it's true. I had a tennis racket, but not too many, what do you call these things?
Strings.
What?
Strings?
Yeah, maybe half of them were missing. I told you about the yogurt. For lunch we got yogurt. There was bowls with yogurt on the tables. And there was a window between the dining room and the kitchen. And I was hitting the tennis ball against the wall to let it bounce in one of those yogurt scales. Yeah, it's true, I tell you. But his wife came running out of the kitchen and tried to take the racket away from me. And I pushed the racket against her. And he came. I said, if you come any closer, I'm going to push it down the throat. And he knew I meant business. And he walked away. And I let her go, you know. But that really happened. So I could have been in jail, right? But I didn't think about that. Later it dawned on me, hey, were you crazy? Yeah, so not normal. I always was on the edge a little bit, seeing how far I could go, even in gambling. Yeah, I haven't gone to the casino now in 3 years. Never went, right? Hello?
Yes.
I never go anymore, eh?
Why not?
I find it stupid. It took me, I always knew it wasn't smart, but I don't need to escape anymore. I have peace of mind. And I tell you, I wasn't looking forward to this interview. It was hard for me. I might forget a lot of things to tell you, and later on, but
Did you have nightmares?
I'm sorry?
Did you have nightmares?
Yes, very
Stay.
bad.
I'm sure. Nightmares are hard.
But I'm here.
Why do you think you survived?
Luck. Nothing else. And my mom. Your mother. You have children.
Mhm.
Would you give them? It's amazing. Right?
It's the ultimate love.
I'm sorry.
It's the ultimate act of love.
Right, stop. Are you talking?
I said, what happened to your mom after she gave you up?
3 months later, she was killed.
And your father?
We don't know.
You don't know.
I told you that June 21st, they made that my birthday, these first address people. June 21st, 1942. I came there. And my mother, according to the Red Cross, they sent me this terrible letter that she was killed on September 30th in Auschwitz. Yeah. Can you imagine 30 years old? Not 15, not 30 years old. What are animals? They're animals. No, I have no other word for it. Worse.
Yeah.
Low lives.
And why do you think it's important to tell your story?
Yeah, I don't think my story is that unique. Right? My story is basically mild to other stories because I survived and many didn't. So if there is a lesson to be learned from my story, I think it's more for the Jewish people than for the Gentiles.
How so?
Because they were in charge of my life after I survived, and they did a shitty job. Okay? So those are my feelings. And maybe people don't agree with me, but that's my honest opinion. Because Jewish families with daughters in Holland, they didn't particularly like when they went out with an orphan, right? That wasn't the best for their daughter, right? I mean, that's the way life is, right? So, but I never had a Gentile family pushing their daughter away from me. Although I married half Jewish. Her mother was a Shekser and her father, who I never knew, was a Jew. Irene's father was a Jewish man, but I never knew him. And she used to be angry at her mother that she wasn't Jewish. It's Emma's, yeah. Which is, you know, in my head, that was not a normal thing. But her mother didn't push me away, just the opposite. But I had Jewish families whose daughter came to me and my mother don't want to see you. It's true. So that hurts too. Because I know why. It's not because I'm the rich boy down the block, right? But you accept those things. You know that that's the way it is. I was hidden by this poor family, and they had chickens. And her father was still alive. He was a hunchback. He used to spit in a pot tobacco all day long. And every day he got an egg. You think I ever got an egg? Never. But I knew I should be happy they keep me. So, c'est la vie. I didn't hold that against them either. This is true, I wasn't angry about that or anything. I knew that I was by another family and they Swedish Red Cross sent a white bread. And she showed me the white bread, but she never gave me a slice. This is the abyss. But I didn't expect that.
Right.
Oh, I have to look at you. I'm allowed to look at I wish I was stronger. My tears, no good. I didn't want to tell you that when I was in this Orthodox home, there were many trenches around that home from the Germans, because I many times thought of killing this. I almost did here. I was in a mental ward. Yeah. I'm very tired now. It's enough.
Do you have any pictures you want to show?
They're laying here.
Show them, honey.
Yeah. Do you want to start with your grandchildren?
I have a better picture.
Right here.
Careful.
It's right here. Son. It's the picture. Use the walker.
Just sit down. No, just
Sit, he'll take it from you.
Oh,
Yeah, he can.
Just hold it up. Hold it up.
that's the family. That's my daughter, her husband, and the two kids. You see, I have tremor.
Yeah. And are there other pictures you want to show?
Show
That's
your
when
mom.
they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
He's 28 now. She's 26.
Say your names.
This is my mother.
Your mother?
Yeah,
A little higher.
Where did
A
you
little
get
bit
that?
higher.
Sarah. I look like her? No. I don't think so. I don't. This is me and my twin brother.
Which is you?
Take a guess. This is me, and that's my brother. Norman do it. Norman, I've seen it. Right. This is before we went hiding.
Where did you get this picture?
A little bit higher.
I don't know, but I did. This is in the war. Okay, a bit.
1944.
1944.
1944.
Yeah. I was in by firemen. See this helmet from a fireman. Now, these pictures, these were all from the, this is the first, this is when the nice couple was still in charge of the orphanage in the first one, in Hilversum. This is after the war, just after the war. These are all kids who were hidden. Many went to Israel, Palestine. All right, enough pictures there.
Up to you.
This is a picture of the Jewish boys' home in Amsterdam. And the lady was the director. See the lady there? She died mentally sick. Mevrouw van Zutphen.
Okay, Sal.
What?
Nothing.
Yeah,
There's
tell
nothing
me.
there. Nothing. There's nothing there, I don't think.
No, it's all children who I grew up with in the orphanage. This is picture. Yeah, this picture we went to an orphanage in Belgium, in Brussels, Les Hirondelles, and Les Hirondelles came to our orphanage. Here is the bus with which we went to Belgium. You see, my favorite man is standing there, Janus. I despise him. I went to a Jewish museum in Amsterdam. They had a picture of him. He probably contributed some. I wanted to spit on it. I sound bad, huh? But it's true. And this is after the war. We went to a, what do you call that? A play, you know, not a hotel, a workplace where we slept in Noordwijk. You see all the kids here? And here, it was like a kilometer from the North Sea. Yeah. And these are the couple who hit my brother during the war. They hide him. Yeah, am I high enough? Okay. I think that will be enough. You want to drink something? I feel guilty.
Do you have any other stories, any other memories you want to talk about?
I told you the whole story,
Okay.
I think. Right?
You know best.
Thank you.
She,
Tell them what you ate. The tulip bulbs.
oh, yeah. In 1944, 45, the only food I ate was tulip bulbs. Bulbs. There was nothing to eat. Yeah. I'm a very small eater, right? I only eat twice a day.
Why?
I don't have appetite. I can go the whole day without food. For me, no problem. But I have sugar and she has sugar, so we have to eat something. What else can I tell you? Probably there's a lot more, but I don't know. Was a good interview.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Really, thank you for sharing.